So good evening everyone. So for this session we are going to discuss about the lecture 5 of the science, technology and society, particularly the science, technology and the nation building. So upon the completion of the lesson, the students are expected to A. Discuss the role of science and technology in the Philippine nation building. B. List all the government policies pertaining to science and technology in terms of their contribution to the nation building. And C. Identify actual science and technology policies of the government and appraise their impact on the development of the Filipino nation. So this is the brief background or historical background of the science and technology in the Philippines. So before the Philippines gained its independence from the American colonizer, early inhabitants had their own indigenous knowledge system. So early inhabitants had their own belief system and indigenous knowledge system. So they excelled in agriculture, fishing, and crafting. Uh, and with that, Spanish and American influences later added to this knowledge and forming the basis for the country's development, particularly in the science and technology. Uh, and of course, after the independence in 1946. So, scientific knowledge is embedded in daily life on the people in the Philippines. So they observed and applied science various ways, such as the way they plant their crops, taking care of their animals, interpret the movements of the heavenly bodies, organizing days into months and years, as well as uh, the use of soils for agricultural purposes, and of course the discovery of the medicinal plant. So these practices were part of their indigenous knowledge system and contribute to the foundation of the scientific understanding in the Philippines. So, technology played a vital role in daily lives of the Filipinos. So, technology is used by people in building houses, irrigations, developing tools that they can use in everyday life, such as planting, hunting, cooking, and fishing. And of course, they developed some tools in fighting their enemies during wars and tribunal conflicts. And of course, they also developed some tools for transportation, so, particularly in land and waterways, and of course, technologies in creating musical instrument. So, additionally, these technological innovations were integral to the Philippines' ways of life, showcasing their adaptability and resilience. Um During the pre-Spanish era, metal age had a significant influence on the lives of early Filipinos. So, metal age had a profound impact on the early Filipino life because it is evident from the archaeological discoveries, as you can see in the picture. So these findings include intricate designs of gold and silver jewelry showing their advanced craftsmanship. So archaeological artifacts discovered sophisticated designs of gold and silver jewelry, some ceramics, and metal tools. So these artifacts highlights the technological and artistic advancement of the early Filipinos during the Metal Age. And of course, during those times, trading with China, Indonesia, Japan, and other nearby countries have influenced their lives by providing different opportunities for cultural and technological exchange. And indigenous knowledge or indigenous science and folklores were also part of their cultures and traditions before. And let's talk about the science in the Philippines during the Spanish period. So, during the Spanish period, there was established schools for boys and girls and introduced the concept of subjects and discipline. So, the beginning of the formal science and technology in the country was the establishment of the School of Science and Technology. So, science is already a subject, and of course, technology is also a subject. So, learning science focuses on understanding the different concepts related to the human body, plants, animals, and heavenly bodies, because these are some basic facts about science before. And learning technology focuses on using the and developing house tools used in everyday life. So uh, as we as we discussed before, technologies was uh, created in order to make the life of people easier, di ba? So during the Spanish period, life became modernized, and there was an adaptation of the some of Western technology and their ways of life. So Filipinos developed ways to replicate the technology brought by the Spaniards using indigenous materials, because here in the Philippines we have reached uh, with natural resources, and these natural resources are our sources of materials that we could make as a tool for our daily life. So, medicines and advanced science were introduced in formal colleges and universities and established by the Catholic order. So, of course, there is the establishment of medicine and advanced sciences, and of course establishment of the Catholic universities and colleges uh, made by the Spaniards. Okay, so of course we also have the galleon trade, but that brought additional technology and development in the Philippines. So when we say galleon trade, it's basically the Manila and Acapulco trade. It is a significant maritime route during the 15th to early century. So I have it. It is generally Spanish ship called galleon were used for these trades, and it was a government monopoly involving just two galleons. Ibig sabihin yan, one traveled from Acapulco to Manila with goods, and other is from Manila to Acapulco. Okay, so uh, only so the significance of this trade facilitated the exchange of the valuable goods between Asia and America, causing the innovativeness and of course the development and of the technologies before. So during the Spanish era, Philippines was a prominent center for a global trade in Southeast Asia, making it as one of the region's most developed places. So the country is blessed with development, but the superstitious beliefs of the people and the Catholic doctrines and practices during the Spanish era halted the growth of the science and technology. Because yes, uh, the doctrines and the practices of the Catholic Church, particularly their beliefs and superstitions, are things that are some of the limiting factors in order to innovatively or creatively innovate some advanced technologies which may become useful in in the Philippines. But dahil sa mga practices ng Catholic Church, ito yung mga bagay-bagay na naghihinder para mag-create yung mga tao ng mga innovative ideas and discoveries. So, during the American period, let's talk about the American period. The American have more influence in the development of the science and technology in the Philippines compared to the Spaniards. So, they established the public education system and improved engineering works and health conditions of of the people. And take note that they are the one who established the modern research university, particularly the University of the Philippines. And of course, they created more public hospital. So during the American ages, they are they contributed a lot to the country's scientific and technological progress. Uh, and these are things that are major contributions of the uh, American colonial period. So in addition to that, during the American period, uh, the Philippines saw increased exploration and exploitation of mineral resources, because here in the Philippines, we have lots of minerals as well as natural resources. And one of the one of the notable improvement uh, from that exploitation, and of course, what they call this exploration was the establishment of the transportation and the communication system na ito yung nag-improve, uh, but it is not accessible throughout the country. So during the American period, uh, they restructured the educational system, introducing the science in both public and private schools. So, in basic education, the focus was on the natural studies and sanitation. And for the higher education, there was a substantial improvement and modernization efforts, wherein research was conducted to combat prevalent tropical diseases such as malaria, cholera, and tuberculosis. So these initiatives of the American period or colonial period was aimed to foster educational and scientific progress in the Philippines during the American time. Okay? So, of course, during the American period, dito na nagkaroon ng tinatawag nating yung World War II. So, the World War II destabilized the development of the country because the World War II severely disrupted the development of the Philippines, and many institutions and public facilities were destroyed, and houses were burned, and countless lives were lost. Uh, After the war, the countries faced a challenging process of rebuilding itself from the ruins of the conflict, di ba? So, dito nasira before yung ating Manila, yung National Museum, nasira yung mga yon, okay? Yung Center for Cultural Arts, nasira dahil sa World War II. So, these establishments were just reconstructed after the World War. So, are you still with me? Okay, let's talk about the science and technology in the Philippines. So, since the establishment of the new public was already established, the Philippines has been dedicated to enhancing its science and technology capabilities despite of the limited resources that happened after the World War II. Okay, so the overseas development allocation, or the so-called ODA, helps the country's improvement of its scientific productivity and technological capability, by simply having a project about human resources development. So human resources development is what they call this is at the heart of these efforts, focusing on producing engineers, scientists, and technology experts, as well as doctors and other professionals in the field of science and technology, just to just to help the country for its progressive development. So take note, class, that the development of the science and technology in the Philippines was shaped by several factors and influences, such as internal and external factor. For the internal influences, we have survival, culture, and economic activities. And for the external factors, we have foreign colonizers, trades with foreign countries, and international economic demands. So take note that improving the quality of science education still remains as a big challenge in the country, because science school for basic graduate education are still improving slowly, and there are only few students enrolling in the science and technology courses. At this point, we are going to discuss the government policies on the science and technology. So, the Philippine government initiated efforts to enhance the field of science and technology with the goal of preparing the nation and its people for the demands of technology-driven world. So the goal is to prepare the whole country and its people to meet the demands of technological driven world, and capacitate the people to live in a world driven by science. And according to the ASEAN 2015 agenda, the government, particularly the Department of Science and Technology and the National Research Council of the Philippines, to consult various sectors in the society to study how the Philippines can prepare itself in meeting the ASEAN's 2015 goal. So, the National Research Council of the Philippines, or the NCRP, organized its policies into four clusters. So, we have the social sciences, humanities, education, international policies and governance. We also have physics, engineering and industrial research, earth and space science, and particularly mathematics. We also have the medical, chemical, and pharmaceutical sciences, and of course, lastly, the biological sciences, agriculture, and forestry. So, let's talk about the uh, government policies, particularly in the cluster of social sciences, humanities, education, and international policies and governance. So, several key initiatives are being pursued. So, these includes integrating awareness about the ASEAN community into the basic education without adding extra curriculum burden. So, there are also focus on emphasizing teaching in students' mother tongues to enhance comprehension and learning. So, additionally, efforts are underway to develop school infrastructure and uh, provide access to ICT broadbands, ensuring modern learning environments. And of course, local food security measures are being addressed to promote sustainability and self-sufficiency in food production. And let's talk about the physics, engineering, and industrial research, earth, space, and science. Space science, and mathematics. So, uh, the focus in the focus is on enhancing education and opportunities in these fields. So this includes emphasizing the importance of the degrees, licenses, and employment prospects for students. So additionally, there are programs offering outright grants for peer mentoring to support knowledge exchange and collaboration. So the aim is to harness the science and technology as an independent mover of the development. So um, the aim is, of course, to provide development in these areas. So next, we also have the medical, chemical, and pharmaceutical sciences. So within the cluster of these includes ensuring the drug manufacturing firm complying with ASEAN harmonized standard through the full implementation of the Food and Drug Administration. So meron tayong mga FDA. So there's also focused on creating an educational council dedicated to standardizing pharmaceutical services and care. And also, the empowerment of food and drug agencies to conduct evidence-based research is emphasized to build valuable pool of information. So, to support this effort, a significant allocation of 2% of the GDP is dedicated to this research. And also, legislation is in place to support the human genome projects of the country. And lastly, in the cluster of the biological science and agriculture, and particularly forestry, key objectives include the protection and conservation of the biodiversity through the full implementation of existing laws. So collaboration with ASEAN countries to use biosafety and standard models is being pursued, and there's also a focus on promoting indigenous knowledge system and indigenous people's involvement in conservation efforts, di ba? Because the indigenous knowledge system and indigenous science are the foundation of the science in the country. So the formulation of the common food and safety standards is a priority in this cluster, contributing to sustainable agriculture and forestry practices of the country. So There are also existing programs supported by the Philippine government through the Department of Science and Technology. First, providing funds for basic research and patents related to science and technology. So there are funded by the Overseas Development aid from the different countries. And of course, they also provide scholarship for undergraduate and graduate studies of the students in the field of science and technology, particularly in the field of particularly moderated by the Philippine Council for Health Research and Development, so PCHRD. So the PCHRD are government agencies of the Philippines that regulate the health research and development here in the country. So we also have the Science Education Institute that provides that regulates the postgraduate studies of the teachers and other professionals in order to master their capabilities and skills in science, innovation, and discoveries. And of course, there was an establishment of branches of the Philippine Science High School system and creating science technology parks such as the Light Industry and Science Park, and of course Hermosa Exxon Industrial Park in Bataan. So if mapapansin ninyo sa inyong mga schools before, di ba, there was an establishment of the science park, di ba? Sa isang small area sa school, merong mga park doon that integrates the knowledge about the science and technology. And of course, we have here science parks in the Philippines, which was established in 1989, and through the years, it has gained the reputation of being a cutting edge of industrial states through its light industry and science park project. And we also have the Hermosa Ecozone, Hermosa Ecozone Industrial Park, which is an 162 hectares industrial estate component of the 478 hectares mixed-use property development in the province of Bataan. Okay, so the project is registered special economic zone under the Philippine Economic Zone Authority. So, moreover, there we have the Balik Scientist program wherein the Philippines has initiated this program to encourage scientists and experts from abroad to return and contribute to the country's scientific development. Kasi nga, di ba, ang problem natin dito sa community is sa ating country is the brain drain wherein professionals are going abroad just to earn a larger amount of income, and yun, lahat ng mga graduates natin dito sa Pilipinas ang nakikinabang is yung ibang bansa. So of course with that, the government is of course focused on building science and technology within the academic purposes, fostering innovation and research. So katulad nga ng sinabi ko kanina, di ba may mga science parks sa inyong mga schools. So the National Research or the National Science Complex and National Engineering Complex have been established within the UP Diliman campus to serve as hub for advanced scientific and engineering research, and these are some projects of the Department of Science and Technology. So these are the National Science Complex in the University of the Philippines College of Science. And let's talk about the science in the field of education. So, to enhance the scientific literacy of the Philippines, numerous science-related programs and projects have been initiated. So, these include special science classes, establishments of the special science elementary schools across the regions, and improvement of science and mathematics education in the basic levels. So the K-12 program emphasizes the science, technology, engineering, and mathematics education. And with that, the goal in various research and projects of the science and technology was for the innovation and technologies, and dito na nabuo yung mga iba't ibang mga inventions such as salt lamp, e-jeepneys, and solar panels. We also have gold mining, which is very useful which is very important in the economic development of the country. And of course, the bioassay and biotechnology, which was, of course, uh, a major subject and discipline where we can actually identify various kinds of diseases, pathogens, particularly in agriculture, fisheries, and other fields of sciences. And of course, we also have in regulating the climate change and the global warming, particularly environmental biotechnology or bioremediation or phytoremediation and environmental studies. So the government gives or support funds that focuses on these field of sciences just to satisfy the needs of the country, particularly in the science and technology. And of course, we also have the food biotechnology because we all know that food is one of the main important component in the community and it should be sustained. Okay? So, meron tayong tinatawag na food technology, meron tayong mga BT rice or yung mga golden rice na tinatawag ay mga BT corn or uh, golden rice na tinatawag. These are all product of the biotechnology, particularly yung tinatawag nating genetically modified organism. And of course, preservation and natural resources because the Philippines is center or it is one of it was gifted with biodiversity and natural resources. So of course one part of our activity is of course to sustain it and for to sustain it for the next generation, particularly in conducting tree planting, coastal cleaning, ecological restoration, wildlife rescue, and anti-mining campaign. And with that, uh, of course, we also have the Build project, which was to build more more railways, urban mass transport, airports, seaports, more bridges, more roads, and these aims to create a new and better cities. Kasi nga, di ba, one of the problem of the Philippines is the traffic jam. Particularly here in Cabanatuan, di ba, masyadong matraffic. And yung oras natin sa traffic is nasasayang na instead yung oras natin sa pagtatrabaho is nagagamit natin yun ay nasasayang dahil sa mga traffic. But part of that is, of course, to address that solution, the government has to make the build programs, of course, just to address the needs of the community. And this is the influences in the development of the science and technology in the Philippines. First, we have the national goal, we have the international treaty, we have the legal framework, social needs, issues, and problems, and these are main basis of the government in order to create policies, programs, and projects, which is very useful in the country's progressive development. Now, let's talk about the Filipinos in the field of sciences. So, I will just gonna give you the most essential discoveries or contribution of these Filipinos kasi masyado silang marami. Okay? So let's talk about Ramon Cabanos Barba. So Ramon Cabanos Barba was born in Ilocos Norte and renowned scientist in the Philippines, and he is best known for his remarkable research in tissue culture for the Philippine mangoes. So Barba was proclaimed as a national scientist for the Philippines in June 2014, and he was best known for inventing a way to induce more flowers in mango trees using ethyl and potassium nitrate. So ito yung discovery niya wherein it is one of um, this contribution of Mr. Barba or Dr. Barba was very useful, particularly in sustaining the numbers or of course in generating a lot of mango fruits. O, di ba? So, next we also have Josefino Cacas Comiso. So Josefino Cacas Comiso was was known for observing the characteristic of the Antarctica by using the satellite images, and he is a leading physical scientist with the Goddard Space Flight Center and NASA since 1979. So kapag involved ang NASA, si Mr. or si Dr. Comiso na yan. So next is we also have Jose Bihar Cruz Jr. So Jose Bihar Cruz Jr. Is known internationally in the field of electrical engineering and elected as officer of the famous Institute of the Electrical and Electronic Engineering. So he was from the Malolos, Bulacan. Okay, we also have Lourdes Jensoy Cruz for a notable research in the sea snail. So she is a Filipino biochemist whose research has contributed to the understanding of the biochemistry of the toxic peptides from the venom of the fish hunting Conus marine. So uh, this scientific and scientific research of uh, Professor Lourdes Jensoy Cruz uh, was very useful in, of course, the treatment of uh, was very useful in the application of some diagnostic tools for cancers and of course development of drugs for the treatment of neurological disorders. And we also have Fabian Millar Dairit for his uh, for he is known for his phytochemical works for the development of Lagundi as part of the National Integrated Research Program in the on medicinal plant. So kapag involved ang Lagundi and of course yung uh, president ng Integrated Chemist of the Philippines, si Dairit na yan. Next, we also have Rafael Dineros Guerrero III. So, si Rafael Dineros Guerrero III was a product of the Central Luzon State University in Muñoz, Nueva Ecija, and he is the father of the tilapia sex reversal. So, itong tilapia sex reversal na to is very useful uh, the the field of fisheries. Kasi itong tilapia na itong male adult kasi na tilapia is na-discover niyang mas malalaki at kapag mas malalaki ang mga male adult tilapia, mas maraming magiging income ang mga farmers natin. So, nag-invent siya ng way para ma-sex reversed yung babae na tilapia para maging lalaki para at least sa farming industry, mas kikita yung mga farmers natin. Okay, we also have Enrique Mapua Estrella Jr. for inventing the meconium drug testing and he of course he is a Filipino doctor which is known for his study of the medicine in the field of pediatrics. So meron siyang method for detecting the presence of drug metabolites in the meconium of the newborn infant. So, ito kasi yung meconium is, of course, isang method wherein pwede mo nang ma-identify na ang isang infant is meron siyang influence ng drug metabolites through his methodology. Okay, we also have Lilian Formalejo Patena for doing research on plant biotechnology, and she is a Filipino scientist who discovered a breed of calamansi and seedless pomelo and discovered micropropagation which established the banana industry in the Philippines. He is also the inventor of leaf bud cutting in cassava. We also have Marijo Panganiban Ruiz for being outstanding educator and graph theorist. So Ruiz specializes in graph theories and operation research. And of course, we have Mr. Tangonan, Gregory Ligod Tangonan, for his research in the field of the communication technology. And Greg works was realized groundbreaking because of the advances in high performing circuitry and innovative computing and communication. So his research and invention in the field of the science and technology operates in the space on aircrafts and automobiles, which is used nowadays. And of course, we also have Cesar A. Saloma. Uh, he is internationally renowned physicist, and he is the first scientist from the ASEAN member country to receive a Galileo Award. So Saloma led the development of a method to generate high contrast image of the semiconductor sites via one photon optical beam induced current imaging and confocal reflectance microscopy. So in 2004, Saloma received the Galileo Galilei Awards from the International Commission for Optics in recognition of his significant contributions in the field of optics that were accomplished under comparatively unfavorable environment. So we also have Mr. Edgardo Gomez. Gomez is a renowned marine scientist uh, who has made significant contribution to the field, recognizing the importance of the protecting Philippines' vast marine resources, particularly coral reefs and marine ecosystem. We also have Mr. William Padolina, the president of the National Academy of the Science and Technology in the Philippines, and among of his contribution are the following. So basahin nyo na lang yan later on. Masyadong napakarami. So we have Miss Mr. Angel Alcala, accredited with many researches or accomplishment in the improvement regarding environmental management, marine conservation, and discovery of the new species. And of course, these are the factors that influence the development of the Filipino scientists. So each of us has individual interest or meron tayong mga iba't ibang klaseng interest. So yun yung kanilang passion. If you are passionate about something, do it. Parang ganun. So we also have family. Of course, we have the natural environment, the presence of the availability of the natural resources. So these are the factors as well as the education and the learning environment, and of course with the experiment in order for them to become a Filipino scientist. So at this point, we are going to discuss about the Philippine educational system, which is an introduction to the science education in the Philippines. At this point, we are going to discuss the Philippine educational system, particularly during the pre-Spanish period, during the Spanish period, the American period, the Japanese era, and of course during the Republic, which was during 1943 to 1972. So at the end of the the aim of the pre-Spanish period was for survival, for conformity and enculturation, and of course, ang characteristic nito is informal education and of course religious or religion-oriented. And yung method of education nila is tell me and show me, observation and trial and error. So these are their parang strategies or methodology on educating students before. So during the pre-Spanish period, education was tailored to the needs of that era. There were no formal schools. Instead, education was conducted through oral traditions, practical skills, hands-on learning, preparing people or students or individuals for a challenging task. So, in addition to that, parents provided informal training to their children, and of course, mother played a significant role in education of their daughters, teaching them essential skills such as housekeeping, weaving, or weaving basket, uh, and various agricultural related activities. So these are informal education, which was really a vital for preparing children for their future roles and responsibilities in their communities. And with that, fathers were responsible for teaching their sons practical skills like hunting, carpentry, agriculture, yung paggawa ng ship, or of course, part na din yan yung mining. So these specific skills varied depending on their location and their local industries, whether they live in highland areas, lowland areas, or along the seashore. So during the pre-Spanish period, education was still decentralized, so children were provided with more vocational training but lesser academics, which were headed by their parents or by tribal tutors. So uh, academic learning before was less emphasized during this time. And in the early period, almost everyone in the society, regardless of the gender, possessed the ability to read and write already. Di ba? They utilized sharp-pointed tools, leaves, bamboo, and tree trunks para makapagsulat, 'di ba? These are their writing method. And of course, the Alibata was one of the ancient writing system used in the Philippines, and it was prevalent during this time because it was a significant but it was significant diminished by the Western civilization before, because ang mas nangibabaw is of course yung tradition ng mga Spanish colonizers. During the Spanish period, education had a specific aim. So, primarily, to propagate Christianity. Yun yung nasa kanta uh, ni sa Magellan, di ba? On March 1621, the Philippines was discovered by Magellan. So, ang goal nila is to Christianize everyone. So the content of the education revolves around religious instruction and vocational training. So the method employed were often dictation and memorization. Kung yung pre-Spanish, it's about uh, ang teachers or the parents, dito naman ang mode of education nila is dictation and memorization. And in parochial schools, the vernacular language was used as a medium of instruction. However, education during this period was often suppressed. It is exclusive, primarily catering to the elite or kung sino lang yung mga mayayaman, and deemed inadequate for broader population. So, dito nagkaroon ng mga caste system, yung mga tinatawag nating Indio, yung mga tinatawag nating mga elite, okay? Nagkaroon ng mga elite, okay, mga Indio, kaya nagkaroon ng mga caste system during the Spanish era. So, the education system underwent significant transformation during the Spanish colonization in contrast to the pre-Spanish era. So, tribal tutors were replaced by Spanish missionaries as educators. And yun nga, it results to a shift towards a religion-centered education. So, this system primarily catered to the elite, yung sinabi ko kanina, yung mga mayayaman, yung mga mahikaya, and the Spanish language became compulsory. Kailangan uh, magaling kang mag-Spanish. Additionally, schools for boys and girls were segregated, and education during this period was often deemed inadequate. Okay? It is suppressed, it is controlled by the colonizers. And in addition to that, with when the Spanish first arrived in the Philippines, the education of the indigenous people was primarily seen as the responsibility of the religious organization. So, parish friars dedicated considerable efforts to teaching indigenous population how to read, as they believe that literacy was crucial for improving the quality of life. So the friars established parochial schools linked with churches to teach catechism to the natives, and education was managed, supervised, and controlled by the friars. And Spanish education played a major role in transformation of the education. So these educational institutions were managed, supervised, and controlled by the friars, who are the educators before. So in Spanish education influenced by religion priorities already. It was already centered on a religion centered education, parang ganon. So during the colonial period, the Philippines saw that parang dito na na-established yung universities, college, vocational schools, and first modern public education system in Asia. So dito na na-establish yung ating University of Santo Tomas and University of San Carlos. So the focus of the education during the Spanish colonization of the Philippines was mainly religious education, and the Catholic doctrine schools that were set up initially became parochial schools which taught reading and writing along with catechism. And education during the Spanish before in prior order was the Augustinians, the Franciscans, the Jesuits, and the Dominicans. And here, in 1963, an educational decree mandated the establishment of the three or free primary schools in each town, one for boys and one for girls, with the precise number of schools depending on the size of the populations. So there were three grades: the entrata, the ascenso, and the termino. So the curriculum required to the study of the Christian doctrines, values, and history, as well as reading and writing Spanish history. So after the Spanish colonial government was overthrown, the schools established during the Spanish era were closed down for a time by Emilio Aguinaldo's government. And dito na pumasok yung the American period natin. So the aim is to teach democracy as a way of life, and the method of education was socialized recitation and students' participation. And the disciplines are reading, writing, arithmetic, language, DMRC, civic, hygienes, and sanitation, gardening, domestic science, American history, and the Philippine history. So, in 1998, American occupied Manila and reopened schools wherein the American soldiers were the first teacher. So English is the medium of instruction, and education should be universal and free for all, regardless of the sex, age, religion, and socio-economic status of individual. So education was the means of giving people an orientation towards a democratic way of life. So, Act number 74 established the public primary schools in 1901 and intermediate schools in 1904, which provide free education schools. And take note that Thomasites are groups of professionals sent by the United States government who are assigned to teach English language. So, uh, during the American period, um, the Act number 372 required all the provinces to maintain a provincial high school, and in 1901, the Philippine Normal School was founded to train teachers, and now yung Philippine Normal School na yan is the Philippine Normal University. And in 1908, the University of the Philippines was established. And take note that ito yung legacy ng American period before the establishment of the University of the Philippines. And during the American colonial period in the Philippines, the use of the English language as the medium of instruction became prominent. So the education system provided formal education at various levels, including primary, intermediate, secondary, and vocational education. So the curriculum emphasizes the fundamental three R's: the reading, writing, and arithmetic. And let's talk now about the Japanese period. So Japanese period, during the Japanese occupation in the Philippines, educators were to promote the use of the Japanese language while diminishing the prominence of the English in schools. So there was an emphasis on valuing manual labor, and the curriculum included vocational and technical training, agricultural education, instilling values rooted in the appreciation of labors, and physical education. So during the Japanese era, in 1941, the Pacific War broke and the Philippines came under the Japanese occupation. So the Philippine Executive Commission established the Commission of Education, Health, and Public Welfare to oversee these policies. So schools which had been closed due to conflicts were subsequently reopened in June 1942. So, the education during the Japanese period makes people understand the position of the Philippines as a member of the Greater East Asia co-prosperity sphere and inspire the people with the spirit of labor. So, Tagalog, Philippine history and character were the focus, and love for work and dignity for labor was emphasized. And with that, in addition to that, there was a spread of elementary and vocational education, and the Pongo was used, and the Japanese tried to stop the Filipino people from using the English language. So, education during these times elevates the morality of the people. And now, the education during the Republic from 1943 to 1972 aims to full realize the democratic ideals and the way of life and promote the equal opportunities for all. So, the contents are social orientation as manifested by the conservation of the Filipino heritage and training for occupation, promotion and democratic nation building, and a new trust in community development. So, the concept of science education focuses on the teaching science, learning science, and understanding science. So when we say teaching science, it involves developing way on how to effectively teach science, and it talks about the pedagogical practices and theories on how things could be taught and how one can bring someone to learn, particularly in the field of science and technology. So when we say learning science, it includes with both pedagogy and of helping students understand the concept, particularly scientific reading, data representation, scientific writing, knowledge presentation, information retrieval, and listening and observing. And when we say understanding science, we understand science by applying the scientific method. Okay, we have here. We have to develop questions, hypotheses, and prediction, and we do experimentation. We design and collect data, do data analysis and interpretation that which we claims based on evidences. And of course, one of the main philosopher and scientist who contributed to the concept of the science education was or is John Dewey. So he is an American philosopher and educator who was a founder of the philosophical movement known as pragmatism. And he stressed the importance of utilizing the natural environment to teach the children. So parang uh, uh, the environment is really essential for students to learn. Parang it talks about parang gusto niyong i-emphasize that uh, gusto niyang i-emphasize about the learning by doing and of course the experiential learning, because these methods and strategies of uh, teaching is really effective in inculcating the knowledge concepts of science, particularly in the science education. Okay, and talking about the science education, one of the significant or imperative, the relevance of the science education is, of course, to provide a vast amount of scientific knowledge developed in different field and provide skills and knowledge that are necessary for the person to live, and of course developing culture in developing science culture is therefore an immense responsibility for schools. So of course when you have knowledge, this knowledge should be applied. Okay, and if there is an application, there is a need, and these needs are things uh, that trust you or oblige you to learn new things again, and paulit-ulit lang yung cycle na yan. So these are the science education in the Philippines. We have the basic education and the tertiary education. So alam naman natin na from grade 1 or from kinder to higher education, meron pa rin science. And of course, uh, yan. Na-establish din yung Philippine Science High School, yung Philippine Science High School system na lahat or sa lahat ng regions sa Pilipinas ay meron Philippine Science High School, just to provide access for every remote region na maka-access sa quality education, particularly science education. So the vision of these schools is to develop Filipino science scholars with scientific minds and passion for excellence. And meron din silang tinatawag na Special Science Elementary Project. Okay? Nagkakaroon ng mga science classes, di ba? So, the project aims to develop Filipino children equipped with scientific knowledge and technological skills and values. So, meron din tayong Manila Science High School, which is the first science high school in the Philippines. Aims to produce scientists with soul and administers an entrance examination. So once na nakapasa ka sa entrance examination, you are already a scholar of this school. And we also have the Central Visayan Institute Foundation and the home of the pioneer of the prominent school-based innovation known as Dynamic Learning Program. So the DLP is a synthesis of the classical and modern pedagogical theories adapted to foster the higher level of learning, creativity, and productivity. And as a summary, science education deals with the teaching and learning of the science and in helping the public develop scientific literacy. And this is important in promotion and development of science and technology in the Philippines. And science education deals with the development of the science in the Philippines, which is the heart of science, technology, and society. And of course, to promote science education, science schools were established to develop gifted students in science and mathematics. And of course, science programs and projects were organized and developed to nurture innovation in science in the country and encourage individuals to pursue careers and research in science and technology. So that that concludes our lecture for this evening. Good evening, everyone.